As you all know, I've been spending a lot of time with GA4 recently. There's a couple of updates I just wanted to bring up. The big one is bounce rate was released for GA4 this week. It's defined differently. It's actually the inverse of engagement rate. So it's essentially going to be a session that meets a couple of specific criteria. GA4 bounce rate. GA4 bounce rate is percentage of sessions that are not engaged sessions. So for example, if a user connects to your website, reviews content in your homepage for a few seconds and leave, that counts as a bounce. So engaged sessions last longer than 10 seconds, had a conversion event, or had at least 2 page views or screen views. But scrolling counts as an event. So it's just going to be a little different on how it's exactly defined. The other really exciting one is this help article has been my savior lately, and it is comparing metrics GA4 versus universal analytics. And what this article does is it takes you through different definitions of the metrics. So when we say things like users or sessions as differently defined in GA4 versus UA, this article has a couple of little bullet points to help you understand that. Some of them, if you want a more detailed explanation, you are going to need to find another source. But if we come down here, sessions, UA, period of time in which a user is actively engaged. And then here it talks about like 30-minute period of inactivity, depending on settings. That's over here as well. But it talks about sessions are not restarted at midnight or when new campaign parameters are encountered. That's different from UA. And so it just has some of these really, really nice bullet points. On my end, one of the biggest ones I've been running into lately is that in UA, there's more limits to how many times a goal will convert in a session. If someone submits multiple contact forms and it's set up as a goal, that goal will fire once. In GA4, that's different, and you'll get multiple conversions from those multiple submissions. Earlier this week, when we were doing QA on some of our GA4 setups, that was actually a bit of a headache. And this is the article that helped me figure out that, nope, that's just a GA4 thing. It also talks about some of the metrics you can and can't really compare just because they're so different in how they're set up. Just another quick little one is discrepancy between Google Analytics and Shopify. Google Analytics is never going to perfectly match up with Shopify, which we're seeing more and more lately as we're getting further into the GA4 project. But this article is just kind of talking about what margin of error is acceptable and some of the reasons why you will see that. And it's also been helpful for us when we're explaining to clients why some of their metrics are a little different. I think the biggest one I've run into recently was about a 10%, I think it was like 10% difference between Shopify and GA4, but sometimes they're like 1% off. So sometimes they're really close and sometimes they're not. I think this article says they only start worrying if it's about 15% off, and about 12% seems to be normal. And I think as we get more into reporting using GA4 in the future, some of these kind of conversations are going to come up more and more. It might be the wrong analytics setup. It might be because people are using VPNs, user consent issues. Safari is really weird with GA4. Visitors not loading the page fully, Shopify might record that transaction, but GA4 might not have the opportunity to grab it. Another thing we're running into is a lot of Shopify apps for subscription, upsell, cross checkout, add to cart. A lot of those are also really interfering with GA4 e-commerce tracking, going through the process. So there are some clients where right now we don't really have anything between like view product and purchase. Hopefully we can get that here soon, but some people that's just not available for yet.